Supreme Court Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg once stated, "Women belong in all places where decisions are made." She dedicated her life to making this a reality. Ruth Bader Ginsburg is leaving quite the legacy on the United States as she has altered the lives of women everywhere. Throughout her early life, her time as an activist, and her time serving on the United States Supreme Court, Ginsburg has moved mountains when it comes to fighting against gender discrimination. I could not imagine living in a world with no female role models in power in the United States. I am forever grateful to have had Ruth Bader Ginsburg as my hero as I grew up. I am also so glad to have had this opportunity to do more extensive research on her life and how she has changed the world as we know it. Today we will discuss the life of Ruth Bader Ginsburg through the examination of her early life, her time as an activist, and her time serving on the United States Supreme Court. Ruth Bader Ginsburg saw gender discrimination often in her early life and her time as a young female lawyer. She was extremely impressive in her academics as she was first in her class in Cornell University and later attended the prestigious Harvard Law School, where she was one of the 8 women in her 500-person class. Despite her hard work and determination, unfortunately, throughout this time she was often still seen as just a woman who was taking another man's spot in the law school. After her Harvard graduation, Ginsburg encountered multiple cases of gender discrimination as she looked for a job in which she could practice law. In a book review over a biography of her life ran in 2015, Chu Han-tek notes that Ginsburg was once rejected a job as a law clerk without even being given an interview. However, this did not stop her determination to break down walls for women everywhere. Ginsburg soon turned to teaching rather than practicing law and went on to become the first female tenured law professor at Cornell University. After spending years teaching, Ruth Bader Ginsburg decided to take a career turn and fight against gender discrimination in front of the Supreme Court. Doing so, Ginsburg served as the director of the American Civil Liberties Union, otherwise known as the ACLU, Women's Rights Project. According to Lenora M. Lapidus' article written in 2019, the ACLU declared women's rights as their top priority and created the Women's Rights Project. With her position at the ACLU, Ginsburg fought 6 gender equality cases in front of the Supreme Court. During this time, she also established the foundational law of constitutional equal protection for women under the 14th Amendment, therefore changing the lives of women in America forever. Ruth Bader Ginsburg went on to become the 2nd Supreme Court Justice ever in the United States. Ginsburg took her oath into office in 1993 after being appointed by former President Bill Clinton. During her time in office, Ginsburg made great contributions in the fight for gender equality and civil rights. However, according to Laurie Harris in her biography over Ginsburg written in 1994, Ginsburg was a more moderate liberal than many had expected. This led to quite a bit of criticism. However, she has made strides since then as she fights against gender discrimination as well as unifies the liberal bloc of the court. She is still serving as a Supreme Court Justice today. Throughout this presentation, we have discussed the different phases of Ruth Bader Ginsburg's life and how she fought against gender discrimination in each of those phases. Ruth Bader Ginsburg has changed the lives of American women as she dedicated her life to fighting against gender discrimination, both in the ACLU and in the U.S. Supreme Court. In closing, I would like to end with another quote by Ruth Bader Ginsburg, in which she stated, "Fight for the things you care about, but do it in a way that will lead others to join you." Thank you.